Welcome everyone to a casted game for Age of Empires 4, and today spawning in the south corner of the map, playing in blue, we've got Deckel playing as the Holy Roman Empire. And his opponent in the north, we've got Abolibo playing in red as the Byzantines. Welcome everyone to Lipany. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Hopefully you are having a fantastic day, and if you're not, maybe today will be made a little bit better with some great Age of Empires 4 action. Great civilizations, the HRE versus the Byzantines. Two civilizations that have commonly chosen for battling it out in the Castle Age. Kind of curious to see how this one will pan out. Of course, the relics can be a thing for the HRE, of course, with the Regnitz Cathedral. They have sometimes sneakily gone for things like a Burgrove Palace to get man-at-arms out nice and early. Kind of curious to see how this one will turn out with Deckel at the helm in blue as the Holy Roman Empire. The Byzantines have got a great economy. They've got the cistern, of course, which the economy revolves around. Being able to boost up the gather rate of villages by 10% right off the bat with water level 1. And does, of course, scale as the water level increases. You've got to get multiple cisterns and connect them with aqueducts using stone to increase that water level, to increase the gather rate, but also increase the production rate of your military buildings. You can also switch it to research rate and also the defensiveness of taking reduced building damage. But also don't forget, can also deploy Akritoi as a good boosting up to the villagers if they're being raided. The HRE though, there's none that does it quite like the HRE in terms of economy. Of course, the prelate, 40% buffering of the gather rate of these villagers. It's something a little bit crazy. It gives them a very, very good fast castle timing. What's kind of curious to see in this matchup though, something to really pay attention to, is farming. Now, I know I'm a bit biased with my name and everything, but farming's really key in this matchup. And the reason why is because two civilizations that tend to focus a little bit more on farming, considering the fact that, well, we've already got an olive grove here already for the Byzantines. And it's because of the Byzantines gathering of olive oil from the berry bushes, but also from the olive groves. Now, the reason why that's so significant is that leads to olive oil being able to be spent on mercenaries and those extra units. Now, whilst the Byzantines don't necessarily have that 40% buffering on the villager gather rate, what they have is the ability to gather, well, two resources in one. They take the berries, that gives them food, but also olive oil. Olive oil can give them units, and those units can put some pressure on their enemies and potentially do some damage. When we think about farms as the HRE, primarily because, of course, the high gather rate does often mean they run out of food. And look at this, he's actually run out of food underneath the town centre, although sheep now coming on in. And so it really comes down to how the HRE want to play this, how Deckel wants to maybe go for that farming transition. Does he want to do it slowly and methodically during the feudal age? Or does he want to go for the pocket economies? Does he want to go for the deer camps? Potentially the boar, which is a little bit far out. This deer camp obviously a little bit closer. And then transition into farms later on in the game. The only problem with that is, of course, having a hard farming transition, it leaves them a bit exposed, right? The HRE can pump out units, and then all of a sudden they're running out of food and they'll have to invest a lot of wood into making farms, and then they can have, well, they kind of have to stop making units for a while, which keeps them a little bit vulnerable, right? Kind of curious to see which options these two players are going to go for. Are they going to start adding in their farms and olive groves slowly, or are they going to go for the resources on the map and then go for a harder farming transition, but obviously getting the faster tech up to the castle age? Bear in mind, of course, if you do get early farms, it delays your castle age a little bit, and so that kind of challenges your ability to get those relics, which both players will be looking to get, of course, because, of course, the HRE, typically going for the Regnitz Cathedral, really does boost up the gold income. And, of course, if you're going up against the HRE, you kind of have to stop that as best you can, right? Bear in mind that the Grand Winery can also make monks and also bring the relics inside the Grand Winery to get their extra olive oil coming on in. That's why I think this matchup is actually really cool to watch, because both civilizations play very similar in some ways. And so, whilst it's not a mirror match, they're going to be battling it out almost at the same phases of the game. Now, one thing to bear in mind in this map, actually, something really exciting, is this trade post. Now, for a lot of you who may not know, we don't see it all very often, but the Byzantines, when they place a mercenary house, they get access to 3 contracts, right? But also, if they place a mercenary house next to the trade post, take a look at this. He could potentially make the mercenary Chukanu and also the mercenary war elephant. So maybe we'll see that today, of course, because the trade post is really close by, and the reason why we don't see it in many games is because often the trade post is very far away from the main base, so it takes a lot of time and investment to send a villager out there. Now there is that water level 2, going to be increasing now by an extra 4%, so 14% in terms of gather rate, and now actually going to be at 40% buffering on the production of the buildings. And it will be the mercenary house as the first production building, as we see the Byzantine build order. Quite typical here at this early phase of the game. Interesting gully coming out with an early man at arms. Not often we see this. It's quite an investment actually, because you've got the extra, the barracks, which cost 150 wood, and then you've got to actually start making these units. Going to get a outpost as well on the goal just to protect. Maybe looking to get sort of a couple of units, do some damage, and then get to the castle age maybe. One thing to note, this map is really nicely wallable for gully. Look at this. The wood lines, could just get a couple of palisades to wood line, and you should be pretty safe and secure on the west side, as well as being able to protect the deer camp. In fact, could go from the cliff side to this wood line here and protect the deer camp that way. Gold mine is under pressure. That will inhibit the Byzantines' ability to gather gold towards any sort of castle age timing, but we shall see how much damage is actually achieved out of this. And it is going to be the Chukunu. Interesting unit, of course, coming out because of the trade post. We don't see it all that often. Maybe we see some more elephants later on as well. And it looks like actually Gully is going to go for a relatively sort of smooth farming transition, early one as well, which will slow down his castle age timing quite significantly. But what it will do is when he does get to the castle age, he'll be able to pump out a lot of units very fast. So the peak kind of powerhouse of the HRE at this kind of playstyle will be sort of the mid castle age, maybe early castle age. Now, I would like to say a very big thank you for everyone who's been supporting the channel, whether it be on Twitch and YouTube. You guys are absolute legends. I have been experimenting with something as well recently. What I'd love you guys to do, if you can, please do drop in the comment section below your most favorite emoji, because engagement actually is starting to really help in terms of impressions. We're actually reaching people on YouTube that we've never seen watch games of Age of Empires 4 before, so that's only going to grow the community, and it's going to be better for everyone really involved in content creation for Age of Empires 4. Also player base, maybe, if it attracts more people to the game, of course. More people playing the game means a healthier player base, means more tournaments, means more casted games, means some great action coming your way. So super thankful for everyone who does that, because it's just a bit of time investment. Doesn't it's completely free from your side of things. So I appreciate you guys very much. Now with this farming transition, it does mean a lot of units will be heading his way, and well, Gully's ability to try and pump out units of himself will come into play a little bit later, but this farming transition has taken a bit of steam out of him in terms of unit production. Does have the barracks though, so going up against the cavalry line from the Byzantines shouldn't be too bad if he just gets a couple of spearmen. Chukunu just playing defensively at the moment. He is looking for that castle age. You can see it here. Abolebo definitely playing for that castle age timing, which should be quite significantly better than the HRE actually at this stage of the game, I think, the way it looks. Because the horseman likely to dive in and get some raiding bounty or damage, really. Especially on that wood line, right? He could potentially dive in there and maybe get a bit of damage in. More about idling. I think that's really got to be the play here for the Byzantines. Just keep the HRE a little bit idled and reduce that gather rate. Gully has to retract those villagers and garrison inside. He will do that. I mean, Sunlight... Oh, he might get one kill there. Does he get it? Oh, he did get it in the end. Surprisingly enough, he managed to scoop that one up. He will lose a horseman. No, maybe not. Keeps on alive. Quite nicely done. And there's enough Chukunu here. I mean, there's a good number of man-at-arms. That's actually kind of a problem. I mean, whilst the Chukunu numbers are decent, and the man-at-arms are a bit dangerous, the good thing for Abolebo, having access to these units is actually phenomenal. Like, it's totally different if it's an archer, right? Because these Chukunu can actually do great work against these man-at-arms. Gully, his play has been countered quite heavily here. The thing about man-at-arms, it's very difficult to counter them in your feudal age for the other civilization, the enemy civilization, because really the hard counter to the man-at-arms are the crossbow units. The only other way to do it for most civilizations are archers and horsemen just to tank a little bit. But the way to do it is to keep your enemy that's playing man-at-arms at home, right? Because if they're running in your base, it's very hard to defend. Really want to keep the man-at-arms away from your base if you can. But the added spice for this one, for the Byzantines, which maybe Gully wasn't necessarily aware of at the start, he is definitely now, is that they get access now to the Chukunu because of this trade post. So it's kind of cool to see some variation in Age of Empires 4 in terms of the map spawn and how it pans out. Gives some really good strategic decisions. And the great thing is the Chukunu are going to scale really nicely, right? He's built up quite a bit of an army. And a lot of the times when you make archers in the feudal age, they don't scale very well. Like, they become a little bit redundant in the castle age in many occasions. But the Chukunu, they can still do some great work against the heavily armored units, whether it be man-at-arms or lancers. The reason for that, of course, is the burst attack. So they get 3 burst attacks, and boy, does it work well. And bear in mind, this is all being paid for by Oliver, so why not? It's going to be the Golden Horn Tower. Going to be getting the extra sort of free units every so often from the mercenary units, and that's been great for those Jugenoo numbers to really build up. It will be the Regnus Cathedral, both players going to build their landmarks with 10 villages each, and so the Byzantines will get there a little bit quicker. I mean, to be fair, it could be quite significant if he does pick up one extra relic over his opponent, which doesn't sound like a lot, but again, one relic that you pick up is more gold for you and less gold for your enemy. So it's a big deal. One thing to bear in mind, and the reason for this faster tech up for the Byzantines is because he's been able to take advantage of the berry bushes, and that means he didn't really need to have a sort of hard olive grove transition. It does mean that when he does need to get a transition onto olive groves, he will have a period of time where he can't necessarily produce as many units as the HRE. So that's something to bear in mind. And then the question is, of course, with the advantage that the Byzantines have had delaying that farming transition or olive grove transition, have they been able to kind of extract value because of that? And the way to do that is to get the relics in by a faster tech up. Maybe have done some damage. He did kill one villager, which is, it's a start, but he's probably going to need to do a lot more, especially now with the walls up here on the west side for Gully Deckle. Really safe and secure, which is exactly what the HRE want to do, because don't forget, the mechanics for the HRE, if they want to boom back into the game, is a sort of a relatively fastish Imperial Age, a cheaper Imperial Age with the Palace of Swabia. That could be dangerous to deal with. These are veteran Chukanoos, and these are still early Manitoms. These are going to... Oh god, Gully. No way, no way. These are going to get shredded. Oh no, he's a little bit far away from the tech up on that. Oh no, still 2 seconds, and okay, it comes in now to the mid-fight, but a lot of damage has already been done. Well, oh, he picks it up. He picks up a horseman and a scout, the HRE Gully. Good, nice work on that, but he's going to lose his man at arms mass. I mean, after all, they've done some damage on the Chukanoos, but unfortunately the tech up was just a little bit too late than perhaps he would have wanted. He's going to sneak away with that relic too, potentially, yeah. Cataphract on the field. That Cataphract is super tanky, actually. I don't think he necessarily survives this, but he's definitely doing some work on it. Yeah, we're starting to see the Knights on board. The Jugenoo will do decent work against that, though. Has to back away. The Cataphract actually won that. This unit is so beefy. Look at that. 360 HP is massive. Now, I wonder whether we're going to see Cataphract Jugenoo. It's such a great army composition. Has added in a couple of crossbows just for good measure as well, actually. Which is nice, because, again, you really do want the crossbows now that you're up against man-at-arms, especially now he's getting wedge rivets here, Gully Deckle. That's the second ranged armor from the blacksmith. It means they take a lot less damage from those Chukanoos, but the crossbows will still get some good damage out of this, of course. The Cataphract baiting in the Knights heavily armored units in a little bit closer. Charges on in. There's a trample coming in by a Bolibo and the Byzantines. You'd love to see that ability, I've got to say. Keeping that Cataphract alive for a significant period of time. The other bit of element to talk about, he's actually gone for Keshiks as well from the Eastern Mercenary contract from his regular mercenary house. Something kind of cool for the Byzantines is if they do go up against siege, right, because it's got a lot of infantry mass. If the Holy Roman Empire think about siege, well, often the Cataphracts can trample on through right on top of the siege. Even if their units protecting the siege, obviously the trample runs right through and then, can snipe the siege engines with the Cataphracts. It's such a really nice mechanic for the Byzantines. It means they don't necessarily have to invest in a siege workshop of their own and springholds, which is a big saving. Because, your Cataphracts double up as a great military unit on the ground, but also a bit of an anti-siege mechanic there as well. Now, behind all of this, has got the water level up to water level 3, has also gone for Dialectica, so increasing that speed of research for his blacksmith and also, of course, other structures. That's great to see. Now, relic-wise, 2 have been brought in by the HRE, 2 for the Byzantines. It looks like the Byzantines are going to sneak away with 1 extra to make it 3 in total. Even looking to get some of the Soko sites potentially. They're challenging for it, for sure. They want an extra bit of gold wherever they can get it. I love the fact that Gully Deckle is getting devoutness now, so he's going to get the extra 10% faster gathering rate and building up the buildings and defenses significantly faster. But he might need that quickly because he's got to be on the defensive. Look at the number of units that Bolibo has. The Byzantines, 40 military units to 12. And a lot of that comes down to the fact that he has got Conscriptio, but also being able to get so many mercenary units because of the olive oil is so great for them. That 60% buffering on the Grand Winery is massive. Going to try and break through on the west side slowly but surely. Going to force villagers to maybe repair, but either way, Knights coming down the centre gully, looking to pick off reinforcements, might pick off a couple of crossbows, and will pick them off. Unfortunately, they've been caught, but it does give the notification. So those units have been sacrificed, but it means the Byzantines are aware of that pending threat. The impending threat from these Knights coming this way. It feels like it's got to be sort of playing to mass crossbows, and he's actually adding in some gulam. So really making the most of the mercenaries, I gotta say. Now, I gotta say one thing, please. Can we see some elephants later on? I mean, they're very expensive, so he's 750 olive oil, although he's nearly there, to be fair. Cataphract Gulams taking this fight. I mean, the Cataphract will get some good damage. Crossbows getting some good damage on the back line as well. The extra bonus damage, of course. Might lose a knight on the retreat. Does get one shot. Oh, just about survives there. With 2 HP. If he can make his way back home and heal on up, that'd be ideal for the archery, of course. Cataphract chasing. Movement speed-wise, the Cataphract just a little bit slower, if I'm not mistaken, than the Knights. Yeah, 1.62 versus 1.5. Yeah, but that farming transition looking beautiful for the HRE, but he's going to be relying on the Byzantines to not be able to produce units for a while. The only problem is that the Byzantines have the olive oil, right, as a secondary resource. It's a different if it's a different civilization, it's a big deal if they don't have this olive grove transition. Because when we talk about not having the olive grove transition, not affording food, and not being able to make units, well, that's one thing. But to compensate for that is olive oil, right? So he keeps on spamming out units whilst he is getting the olive grove transition. Adding in a second town centre as well, which I quite like to see, because at some point the HRE might think about the Imperial Age, and then it's going to be up against the Palace of Swabia, and this is lovely by the Byzantines. We're definitely seeing in Age of Empires 4 at the moment this current trend of getting to the castle age, challenging for the relics, and then getting a second town centre. In fact, we're seeing a lot of civilizations do this. We've been seeing the Ayyubids, we've been seeing, well, here the Byzantines, of course, and I think those are two prominent civilizations that are doing it at the moment. Japanese as well sometimes do it. It's such a fun way to play Age of Empires for something completely different. Often, a lot of civilizations previously have added in second town centers in the Feudal Age. Of course, some still do, like the English, but this is a kind of cool playstyle because, of course, the HRE being quite defensive, he may not know about that second town center, right? So he might be caught unawares. But either way, not that it changes too much because they don't have to defend this position, and it's going to be pushed off of farms, which is a big deal. It's a massive deal, right? Because it's one thing being pushed off a pocket of resources where you kind of expect to be pressured, but when you're being pressured at home, right, like this is your long-term farming eco that's being damaged. Forced into horsemen and spearmen to try and defend here. Gully has to be on the defensive. The Byzantines are looking really strong, and a lot of it coming down to the fact he's got olive oil. Now, he can actually afford an elephant. Please, let's see an elephant. I hope we do. Nothing queued up just yet. Hold the phone. Getting his all-important blacksmith upgrades. Getting wedge rivets now. The Byzantines, in fact, is that? Yeah, that is indeed wedge rivets. Been able to take 2 of the sacred sites. Oh, there it is. Look, we've got an elephant. Beautiful. It's made its way across the map. You'll love to see it. I love it when Delhi do it, but it's even better when the Byzantines do it. And the horseman will be a good play against the Chukunu and crossbows. The issue is that he's up against her. Oh god, oh no. That engagement was terrible there at the start there for the Byzantines, but maybe there's a way to claw it back into this one because those Cataphracts are super tanky. The horsemen are getting around though. Cataphracts charge on in. A couple of Lansknechte involved as well, but he's getting cleaned up here, really. The Byzantines, nice clean up there by the HRE. That's exactly what he needed. But he's being pressurized on the right side. And the big thing for the HRE is he doesn't really have a huge source of gold at the moment. Neither do the Byzantines, to be fair. It's got 0 villages on gold. In fact, let's take a look at the income per minute now. It's looking very good for the Byzantines. Cataphracts charging on in. This is buying a lot of time, causing quite significant idle time with these villages as well. He's killed 10 already. Don't forget the Byzantines are on 2 town centers, right? So you might be wondering, why is he diving in so much? Well, a lot of this is about not necessarily doing sort of super massive amounts of damage. Definitely no structural damage because it's not got any siege, but it's about delaying the HRE and just making sure the economy's idle, allowing the Byzantines' second economy, second TC to come online. But he might be a little bit caught out here, Bilbo. Maybe he bit off too much he can choose. Going to try and retreat with the crossbows. Sacrifice the Cataphracts. Got the 3 sacred sites, but probably won't keep them for too long. What he has to do is wait for those reinforcements coming on in, and, well, they are going to group together now. And he still has a really good, significant army here, Bilbo and the Byzantines. Getting at military academy as well, so that's really going to ramp things up in terms of production speed. Especially when you consider he's already water level 3, right? So he's going to be getting a good 60%. Military academy adding in significant more as well. Taking that fight, crossbows on the back line. Will do great work against the spearmen, actually. But the horsemen, they're going to be charging on in. Oh, War Elephant might be going down pretty soon, but it's been tanking quite significant. I think Gully loses that, actually, overall. Elephant's still alive. Down he goes now, though. But a lot of damage has been done, and oh, Lansknecht got to. Oh yeah, he focuses on Lansknecht good because it's a glass cannon. But if he gets close up to you, he can do a lot of damage, especially with the units being clumped up like this. Surprisingly, actually has access to all 3 sacred sites so far. But yeah, that one's being decapped on the west side. Gully sending a horseman just to decap it. just to reset that timer. And this kind of insufferable pressure forces Gully into making units, makes it very difficult for him to even think about Imperial Age at this point. Oh, look at that. There's the olive grove transition, even adding in more cisterns to ramp up the economy and production. Looking good for the Byzantines, I've got to say. Played very nicely so far. But of course, with the HRE, there's always a comeback mechanism. There's always the Palace of Swabia that could come into play. I love the fact that he's walling up as well, right? Might get raided here a little bit with a single horseman, but these walls are critical. Keeping his economy safe, playing it very slowly, methodically, and safely, which is exactly what the Byzantines need to do. I think it has to be said, though, with the way the game is going at the moment, the Byzantines look in really good shape, and I think it's going to be down to the HRE, the Holy Roman Empire, and Gally Deckel being able to defend their oncoming push that's likely to happen pretty soon. If the HRE can survive and maybe get to that Palace of Swabia and then get plenty of villages that way, maybe there's a way back, because of course the Imperial Age, not only will it unlock the Palace of Swabia, but also would unlock the ability to get the cannon emplacements in those outposts and make it even more likely that they can defend. But the kind of concern is the Byzantines' attack that's about to come in shortly, I would imagine, is going to be a powerful one. He's got the olive grove transition. He's going to get plenty of olive oil coming on in. And he's going to get a lot of production as well now with level 4. That's going to be 80% production on those buildings extra. And it's going to keep ramping up. There's 2 elephants as well, which will be very difficult to deal with. And the trouble is Gully, right? He's forced into making units. So it's always a bit of a... It's a kind of a game of chicken, right? Does he think about going to the Imperial Age? And if he does, that's a lot of resources to pump into it. That means less units, of course. It's a really challenging one, right? Because you kind of get the feeling that the Byzantines, look at this, they are prepping, right? He recognizes the game situation that if a Bolibo, what he might be thinking about is just waiting, maybe, for the HRE just to commit to that Imperial Age, to spend all those resources, and then go, just before all those all-important upgrades could come in. We shall see if that makes a big difference here or not, and that's the type of playstyle I was going for. We shall see. I mean, maybe even getting more Chukanu and maybe even another elephant. Yeah, the olive oil income is kind of crazy, right? Like, if you think about it, it cost, what was it, 850 for an elephant? Let's take a look. No, 750. So he's getting 600 olive oil per minute. So it's about just over a minute. And he's getting an elephant because of it. That is absolutely massive. That's kind of broken, no? I mean, I've got to say that olive oil is a big part of the Byzantine economy. It does feel like it's a little bit overtuned at the moment. And, yeah, certainly this pushing right now is going to be dangerous. Don't forget it's got 2 TCs behind this as well, right? So the economy is massive. And he's jumping on in here with the 2 elephants and the Kyro-siphon. A good number of horsemen, but they need to try and get around on the back line onto the ranged units, right? They cannot engage against the elephants. He's got some lance connection, a good number of spearmen, a couple of mangonels as well. But he's going to be looking to take down the outpost. The first outpost goes down, and yeah, the horsemen diving on in the elephants, which is not ideal, right? Because the elephants will take care of those pretty quickly. But he is kind of holding on, trying to snipe out a mangonel here. The Byzantines, I'm not so sure he'll make it. Yeah, the mangonel stays alive for now, which is pretty huge. And he's going to go to the next stage here, Gally Deckel with the Palace of Swabia, and he might be able to hold this off, actually. 2 elephants remain, but the Kyro-siphons have been taken down, and he's given up a bit of ground, but not too much, and he didn't lose all that many workers. That's the big deal, right? But take a look at this. The Byzantines keep trickling on more units, and this wave of attack is just the first one, maybe. There might be a second one coming in pretty soon. Almost sniping that elephant. Will he get it in the end? It's going to be a close one. He doesn't quite manage it. Doesn't want to commit too many ranged units, of course. And he wants to make sure those mangonels are protected. He needs to keep these mangonels alive. And it looks like maybe the Byzantines are going to be affording another elephant before too long. Going to try and re-establish the outpost. And he's got to keep this area secure somehow. But there is the Imperial Age. So now if he can get those cannon emplacements, he'll be a little bit better equipped. I'm not sure. Did he actually use emergency repairs? I almost felt like he didn't use emergency repairs there on the outpost. I may have missed it. Either way. We'll see elephants building up again. 3 of them. And Gally Deckel has staved off that attack. Now with the Palace of Swabia around the back, he will be pumping those villages. The big concern though for Gully is gold, right? He's only got 1 relic, and this gold vein is pretty exposed. I mean, there's not much gold here anyway, and this one obviously is very exposed in terms of its positioning. So we'll need to try and secure that if he can with a keep, which it looks like he's getting enough stone for, but he might be also thinking about using the stone for the emplacements, right? And I think this is going to be a key area. He needs to secure this stone and make sure he gets on the map to get the gold. I think it's a big detail here for sure. Speaking of securing portions of the map, the Byzantines doing just that. Looks like Abolibone thinking about going to the Imperial Agent himself with the foreign engineering company, which suits him very well. Going to be able to get those siege engines using olive oil, plenty of options, hui pow, nester bees, royal cannons in the arsenal of the Byzantines shortly. And it doesn't seem like Galley Decker will be ready to push out before the tech up comes in, right? So that's the big deal. Like, it means the Byzantines can get to the Imperial Age pretty safely. He's got the static defense, he's got the standing army, and it's unlikely he's going to be pushed in too much. Looking to neutralize that sacred site on the west side, and kind of nice walling up here actually. This could be kind of walled up to the other cliff as well, just to secure that sacred site potentially. But looks like the Byzantines, they are grouping up together. Look at the population, holy moly. He's got Varangian guards, he's got Ghulams, he's just got to the Imperial Age. Horsemen trickling on through. I mean, they're going to go down pretty quickly if they don't get around. Manages to lose just 2. Byzantines actually going to have a lot of vision as well, by the way, because of the great upgrade, the border settlements. Gives them a lot of vision. But this is nice actually by Gully. He's just distracting the army. He needs to keep this Byzantine army away from his main base for as long as possible. Alright, yeah, he's upgrading these outposts now, and they do have some of them have got cannon placements. They're coming on in. The big concern is actually securing gold, right? You've got the 8,000 gold veins, which the Byzantines have access to here. I'm just trying to chase where the other 8,000 gold vein is. Actually around here on the right side, which Gully Deckle... Yeah, this is a rough one actually for his side, I've got to say. Map generation-wise, has really favoured the Byzantines. Not only because of the trade post, but also the gold veins that are on offer in the middle of the map, the 8,000 ones. But it's just backing away. Does he deploy Akratoy? That's certainly one way to deal with this. Horseman getting a bit of raid, forcing the Byzantines back, and this is actually big. This is really big for Gully. Make no mistake about it. He's buying a lot of time with this. I think the Byzantines need to try and ignore the horsemen, or at least try and find a defensive capability of dealing with them, rather than sending all the army back. Because he's not running out of valuable time, but it's allowing the the HRE to boom back into the game. Trying to get the walls on the right side just to prevent the gold coming on in. Could potentially look to get a keep himself. Does have a couple of villages on stone. Elite army tactics coming in for the HRE, so they're not down and out just yet. Healthy population. It's just the military is lacking, right? It's got the village count, it's just the military. It'll take some time before the economy really kicks in to produce more units, which of course the Byzantines have had for quite a while with that second town centre. But it's been a fascinating game of Age of Empires, just to talk about the strategic options for both civilizations. That's a lot of elephants as well. Oh god, that's going to be tough to deal with, I've got to say. A very population efficient unit. Yeah, he's looking to secure this gold, right? He needs to. He needs that gold income. Take a look at the gold income for the Byzantines, almost upwards of 2,000. And he's going to get tithe barns as well, having 3 relics and 2 sacred sites. Gully, he's going to send his villagers out here, but it's a lot of exposed villages, and he needs to keep army there. Where is the army? That's the question. Oh no, he doesn't really have much, right? Only 20 military units, and this is going to be a bit dicey. But just have to garrison inside. It's not going to be too long before this keep goes down. There's elephants, right? These elephants likely to take this down quite quickly. Mangonels can be chased, and at this point, I mean, the Byzantines don't need to worry about the keep so much. He could just try and force the villagers away, because that's the main issue, right? The villagers mining gold, and he's going to torch it down anyway. And he's at 200 population, right? So why not? Might as well go for this. And look at the banked up resources. The Byzantine economy is looking absolutely bonkers. It's got water level 5, by the way. That's a good 26% buffering on them. And because the buffering is regional, it's a lot more easier to sort of handle compared to the HRE prelate buff, right? You have to get multiple prelates to do that, and it takes population to do that as well. So this is looking really smooth for the Byzantines, and the villages. Oh, these are exposed. There's no way they're going to survive, I don't think. Surely not. But it will take some time to break through the defenses of the HRE, of course, with the cannon emplacements. Elephant's definitely a nice unit. Got a couple of one nester bees as well, dishing out some damage on the man at arms. But the nester bees a bit exposed. The elephant's not really in position. Although, to be fair, Gully not really making the most of that. Well, nester bees going a bit further forward, which is a bit awkward. But I mean, he's going to clean this up anyway. Nester bee stays alive. believe it or not, or might go down with one more swing. It doesn't quite, and he keeps it alive, which is huge because it's going to be difficult now to take care of that with the number of units that are there, trying to get defensive keep. There's not too many villagers building it just yet. And he's even got Limitane. He's got Varangian guards, got absolutely everything he needs. He's got elite Varangian guards as well. That's a lot of elephants. Holy smokes. Gully, he's on the back foot, down to 7 military, and that's the keep that's trying to keep him alive. But I mean, I don't think it even goes up, and even if it does, you're going to lose a lot of villagers doing so. Nesta Bees, everything on this keep, and I can't imagine Gully will be staying in this game for too much longer. Berserking of the Varangian guards, and looks like the Delhi Sultan have helped the Byzantines massively here with their war elephants, which is a bit weird, but anyway, it is what it is. Yeah, villagers have to garrison inside, and Gully is going to lose a lot. He's lost 68 villagers so far in the game. Of course, lost a lot on that gold vein on the right side. And yeah, it looks like the HRE base now is under siege. And there it is. Gully taps out. A great game of Age of Empires 4. It all came down to the war elephants, you feel. In fact, it was the Chukunu into war elephants that really worked out well for the Byzantines. A cracking game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you did, make sure you give the video a thumbs up. Take care and see you next time.